Alright, so what's up guys, it's Wombat, and today I'm going to be doing something that is a little different from what I usually do nowadays, which is mainly like burst stuff, but I figured I would change things up a bit and do an MFB video, because it is still kind of my favorite series, just that there's not a whole bunch of content to make for it anymore. MFB tournaments with like high level competitive action are pretty few and far between nowadays. And most of the combos and like strategies and stuff have already been discussed and found out at some point in the past, so there's not really anything new about it. But this is for people who are not too familiar with the series and are looking for an easy way to get into what the most popular MFB format is at the time, which is MFB Limited. It's pretty similar to Burst Classic in the terms of both like relative power levels and I guess play style and how they feel. So these aren't in any particular order, but these are going to be like 6 of which should probably be your first purchases if you're just looking for Beyblades to get into MFB Limited. So up first, and I just said that this wasn't in any particular order, but I feel like if you were to get only one or like very few of these, this would probably be your first choice. It would be Gravity Perseus. Just because pretty much all of the parts of this are good. Gravity is currently legal and limited, though that may change in the future. It was legal at first, and then it was banned, and then it was unbanned, so it's got quite a controversial history in the format. But either way, it is a dual spin metal wheel, relatively heavy. The heavier ones from Random Booster 7 can go up to about 34-ish grams. The lighter ones that are released by Hasbro and the original Takara Tomy release are more around 32, and the Sonicon one supposedly is like smaller and smoother and only weighs about 30 grams, so that one is not as good for the most part. But either way, Gravity is a very solid metal wheel. It's okay at defense. I have a combo actually that relies on weak launching and opposite spin for it to be good at defense. Its stamina isn't too great, but it performs fairly well as an attack wheel and like kind of anti-attack as well. Perseus is the only clear wheel that works with Gravity. This one comes with the defense version, which is probably the most useless out of all of them, but it's still not too bad. You either want to use the stamina version if you're not using attack, or the attack version when you are using attack. AD 145 is the second best 145 height spin track for stamina after W 145, and there's a few other that are also like okay as well, but this is a pretty solid part in itself. And then WD is pretty much your go-to stamina tip for anything 145 height and below. And also another reason to prioritize this over the other Beyblades in this list is because of the launcher it comes with, which is the Bay Launcher LR. This is the most powerful launcher in the game that's like easily accessible, just because these go for about $10 on their own. Gravity Perseus, the starter that comes with it, goes for about 15 to 20 when I made this video at least. And yeah, there's the Rev Up launcher, which is the only one more powerful than this, but it's hard to find and easy to break. So this is the best launcher in the MFB game right now. So this is a pretty good value pack to start like limited with. Up next is a Beyblade that you've probably seen coming, and if you are around my age, you probably have like either good memories or nightmares about this thing from like middle school or primary school, or whenever this thing was like used by your friends to dominate everyone in the Hasbro stadiums. But it is your boy Pro Eagle. Basically this at the time, this was probably the best stock Beyblade for a solid year at least. Just because Earth is a really good defense stamina hybrid wheel. If you put it on a defense setup, it's got some pretty good defense just because it is like so smooth, and it makes me kind of excited for how like the burst Earth Eagle is going to perform, just because it does have that same shape. It's like chaos but better, just because the gap between this thing here is not as big, so there's like less of a chance for recoil. It's also got some pretty good stamina too. It's second to things like Burn and Scythe, if that ever gets unbanned. And one other thing that I'm forgetting that isn't Libra, because Earth and Libra are about the same stamina wise. Oh, maybe Virgo, I don't know. But Eagle isn't too great of a clear wheel, it's just what it comes with. And clear wheels don't particularly matter too much compared to the other parts, though they do matter in some cases. It's generally the least important part of MFB combo. 145 spin track, nothing too special about it. And then wide defense is the same tip that comes with Gravity Perseus. It is a pretty standard stamina tip. And if you just stock Earth Eagle is like, if you want to like noob proof a combo, you have to make sure it can beat stock Earth Eagle before you go like any further with it. Just because it is a pretty good stock combo, and you could probably just use this in your first MFB Limited tournament and get relatively far. And the next is kind of an oddball pick, but it's going to be Samurai Pegasus, or Cosmic Pegasus if I'm the Hasbro version, but I'm not really sure like how cheap that is nowadays. I haven't done market research on it, as those young professionals would say, but anyways, Samurai Pegasus is probably going to be cheaper just because it's not like Hasbro exclusive. You might be able to find the Takara Tomy version for relatively cheap, but Pegasus is a pretty slept on, like, not metal wheel, what's it called? Chrome wheel, where basically if you flip it upside down and go into crystal up mode, it will basically be like it's spinning left here, so it hits with like the sharper edges or the more offensive edges of these wings, and that can be a pretty nasty attack. Like, I'd say it's pretty comparable to Y-Bang, which is saying a lot because Y-Bang is widely regarded as the best attack wheel in all of MFB, and it's getting kind of hard to obtain since the only way to do that is through some $30+ set that was only released by Takara Tomy. Samurai is kind of a okay crystal wheel. If you could switch it out for something like Bandit or Shinobi or Gladiator, that would be better, but that would require buying another Beyblade. And W105 and R2F, it's just a pretty standard short track, and then R2F is a pretty good attack type performance tip. The reason I suggest this over something like Galaxy Pegasus or Storm Pegasus is just because that the Pegasus Chrome wheel, or Cosmic if you do have that, is considerably better at attack than either of those are. So if you just switch this to Crystal Up mode, it's a pretty decent stock attack type as well. So up next is the Tallboy Flame Bixus. This and then another Beyblade I'm going to show you later are probably the keys to making one of the most safe and also annoying combinations in MFB Limited, which I'll explain later. But basically, Flame and it has the same performance tip as Earth Eagle and Gravity Perseus, which is WD. Pretty standard stamina tip there, but it's very good at the same time. 230 is the tallest spin track, and it's unlike the other ones. It's got a pretty smooth exterior, which makes it good at like defending against lower hits. And Flame also has this raised shape that makes it work really well with 230 in this one combo I'm going to point out pretty soon. Bixus is an okay clear wheel on some attack types. But yeah, this is also okay stock. WD and 230 don't work particularly well together, but it can probably beat some like non-competitive stuff. So up next is probably the only one of these Beyblades that isn't particularly like good stock. Like, it can't compete against some more competitive stuff just on its own, but it is Ray Unicorno or Ray Striker. Basically, the reason you're going to want to get this is for the spin track D125, which is a nice, I guess, short to mid height between something short like 90 or 105, and then something actual mid-height like 145, and then something super tall like 230. And the performance tip is CS, which is also one of the best defense type performance tips in MFB. It's kind of like Unite from Beyblade Burst, where it is the plastic spike with the rubber coating around it. And this is actually a very good tip for the Flame 230 combo. It makes it tall because there's two tip heights in MFB, the short ones and the tall ones. CS is tall, so if you put that on Flame and 230, it makes you kind of hard to hit. And if you do get hit, the rubber makes you more difficult to knock out. So it's, unless you're prepared for it, it's kind of an annoying combination to fight against, because you won't be able to do much to it otherwise. The clear wheel is okay, and the fusion wheel ray is probably the worst part of this. It's not very good at attack. It's better at defense just because of its smooth shape than it is at attack, and it's not very good at that either. So just all around kind of a bad wheel. But CS and D125 are both good parts. And last but not least, we have Screwcap, which is kind of the sleeper pick for this video. The clear wheel is okay. It's probably, out of the ones I'm telling you, probably your best bet for just defense and stamina combos. It's better than Eagle, better than Pegasus or Unicorno, but it's not as good as something like Bull or Aquario or Cygnus would be. Screw is a very good attack wheel. It's basically like a right spin lightning in my experience. Doesn't have quite as much of like a vertical range as lightning does, but it hits a little harder. It's also heavier than lightning, and yeah, it's got some pretty good outward weight distribution as well. And 90 is a good spin track because it's the second shortest. 85 can scrape on a few things, but with 90 that's not as much of an issue, but it's still pretty good for your attack and short defense or stamina combos. Finally, the tip is metal flat, which is nice because it is it's a lot like Iron from Beyblade Burst, when I mentioned in that driver video earlier, where it's good at attacking, it's good at tornado stalling, it has a pretty good amount of stamina. It's kind of difficult to self-KO just because of the shape of the tip. Makes it catch the tornado ridge really well. And overall, it's a good, I guess, balanced type tip compared to other things like rubber flat. Alright, so overall, these 6 Beyblades they give like a good combination of parts that gives you pretty good coverage against most of the common threats in Limited. You could easily win a tournament just owning these 6 Beyblades and making combos based on their parts. So first off, you have, I guess, your safe combos, which would be like Earth 90, D125, W105, AD145, and then with one of these wide defense tips, Flame 230 CS, Earth 230 CS is also pretty good. Earth 90 CS is a good defense combo. Gravity D125 R2F is good for attack. Gravity 90 WD is good for, or it's okay for, I guess, opposite spin stamina, though it's kind of easy to KO. Screw Unicorno, any one of these tracks will probably work, and then R2F is a good attack type. Samurai Pegasus stock in Crystal Up mode's a good attack type. I guess you could try using Flame or Earth with like 90 MF as a staller, but I don't know how well that would work. Yeah, overall, you can make a bunch of different good semi-competitive, if not like almost top tier combos just based on these 6 Beyblades alone. So if I were to recommend just a budget guide for getting to MFB Limited, it would be these 6 Beyblades right here. So I hope this was helpful if you aren't too familiar with MFB and are trying to get into it, how to start collecting them to play competitively. And I hope to see you guys next time.